Welcome everybody. I'm Andy, this is Mark. We are engineers at RemedyCat, and we are here to talk about the joys and challenges of building a paywall with Play Billing Library 5 and 6. So, don't know what the situation is here with the projector.
Oh, sorry.
Can we get that in? There you go. All right, there you go. So, what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to go over a little bit what is Google Play Billing Client. We're going to talk about when you need to use it and why should you care about this at all. And we're going to talk about the reasons to migrate, the compelling reasons to migrate to Billing Client 5. And we're going to go over the differences in the model used for Billing Client 4 and then 5 and 6. And a quick note, Google Play Billing 6 is very, very similar to 5, and so we're kind of going to be talking interchangeably about them because they're almost the same thing, and the changes. Sorry.
Could you just hold the mic? The recording is not going to pick it up.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah.
All right, and so then we are going to actually show you how to build a paywall with Billing Client 4 and then with Billing Client 5 or 6. And we're going to just go into the practical differences between them. And then we'll talk about the challenges, the things that you may run into, the things that we ran into when migrating at RemedyCat. And we're going to leave you with some resources and have time for questions towards the end. So first of all, what is Google Play Billing? Well, Google Play Billing is a library made by Google that you have to use if you want to sell any digital goods in your app. So Google requires that if you want to publish an app and distribute it through the Play Store and you want to sell digital goods in that app, you use their library so that they get their fee. This library, currently the latest version is version 6.0, and that was released a month ago. And like I mentioned earlier, 6.0 is actually very similar to version 5, so we'll cover mostly in this talk the differences between 4 and 5, which are the most drastic ones. And now a bit about what you should care about upgrading to Billing Client 5. So Google distributes their billing clients in 2-year life cycles, meaning that if they release Google Billing Client 6, they released it a month ago, in 2 years, they will force app developers to move to a different version. How they do that is, well, if you want to publish a new app, for example, for Billing Client 4, which was released in 2021, new apps will no longer be able to get published on the store if they're using Billing Client 4 starting August, which is in 2 months. And existing apps will not be able to publish app updates if they're still using Billing Client 4 starting November of this year. So clock is ticking, and we actually pulled these numbers yesterday from Google, and most developers are still using, overwhelmingly so, Billing Client 4. So that means all the apps that are using 3 or 4 there will have to update to Billing Client 5 or 6 by November, or they will not be able to publish any updates. So TLDR, you have to update. But now the good news. There are compelling reasons to update regardless. It's Google Play Billing Library 5 is good. It introduces quite a few new things that you can use to make more money. So specifically, they introduce stuff like prepaid plans, which in some countries, like for example in India, you cannot sell an auto-renewable subscription. It's just not allowed. You can use the new feature in Play Billing 5 that's called prepaid plans. And the feature, what it allows you to do is a user can buy multiple periods of your app in advance. So for example, they can buy 3 months of your app subscription in advance, and it won't auto-renew, but that's kind of the way to do it in India and some other countries that have restrictions like these. And you can do this starting Billing Library 5. You can also do other cool things. Like for example, they have a new concept of developer-determined eligibility for offers. And so the idea there is you as a developer get to choose to give people discounts based on whatever you want. So these could be things like, well, I want to grant a discount to everybody who is in a physical location. I want to do it in X, Y, or Z days. I want to do a discount for people using a certain device or anything, really, that you want to choose. That might be, for example, tying to a real-life event or all sorts of creative things, and these actually might help you monetize your app better. They also finally allow you to control the availability and the pricing of your products by country and by region. And so you could, for example, do things like adapting the pricing of products for different countries based on their purchasing power, which it might actually help you convert quite a lot better in different countries where disposable income might not be the same. They have quite a few other features there, like, for example, they introduced, essentially, they allow you with tags and like different flexibility options there. They allow you to change the things that you're selling to the users at runtime based on whatever you want. That's a lot of the focus here. So I'm going to cover a bit what it looked like on BillingClient 4, what it looks like on BillingClient 5, and that might illustrate some of the differences. And again, I'm talking about 5 and 6 interchangeably here. They look almost the same. So BillingClient 4 days, if you wanted to sell subscriptions in your app, you would have each product to represent a subscription. Each product would have the billing period, an optional free trial, and an optional introductory offer. This means, for example, if I want to sell a monthly subscription, well, I have my monthly product, which may or may not have a free trial, and it may or may not have an intro discount. The discount you can think of as those that look like $3.99 for 3 months, and then $5.99 onwards. That's the intro discount. So if you wanted to sell, for example, a weekly, monthly, and annual options, well, you would have 3 products. Each of them will have their own free trial. Each of them will have its own introductory discount. In BillingClient 5, Google introduced this new hierarchical model. The idea for that model is that they separate the concept of what you're trying to sell, how you're billing the user, getting back to that same concept of, I want to sell a subscription for weekly, monthly, and lifetime. The way that this would apply in Billing 5 land would be you have the subscription, let's call it Pro. That is the top level, right? That is what you want your users to have access to. This is what in your app you will try and determine, like, does this user have access to the subscription? If so, let them through. The base plan, on the other hand, determines the billing period and the base price. So basically, how will they renew? For example, a base plan will be monthly. That means they renew every month. Another base plan will be annually. Another one will be weekly, whatever, right? So that base plan also gets tied to the price, which is the base price. You can think of it like that. And it's basically if no discounts are being applied, this is what you will get. Right, that's the typical price that you will get. And from there on, you have the offers, which are special discounts. And so that could be the free trial. That could be an offer for a discounted price for a given amount of time. And in BillingClient 5 land, you can have as many of these as you want per base plan. So that's another stark contrast with BillingClient 4 is, you have much more flexibility there in what you want to do. So I'm going to hand it over to Mark now, who's going to show us what this looks like in practice with BillingClient 4, with BillingClient 5, and the actual code. And then I'll come back to tell you a bit about the challenges you might face, the things we ran into at RemedyCat, and some workarounds.
Thank you, Andy. So I work in my free time on an app called Catflix, which is a video streaming service for cat videos. And so I have my app currently using Billing Library 4, but because I'm a very compliant developer, I want to be able to be ready for when the cutoff date for Billing Library 5 happens, right? So I'm going to explain to you how I have currently my subscriptions configured for Billing Library 4, and we'll go through updating both my subscription for Billing Library 5, and also we'll see how it is configured in code, right? So as Andy explained, in Billing Library 4, every subscription, every combination of subscription product and subscription period needs to be its own separate product. So because I have 2 subscription tiers here, premium and standard, and then 3 subscription periods for each one, I need 6 different products. This is how I have it configured on the Play console. This would be duplicated for each. This is the example for the premium product, but this would need to be duplicated for the standard product, right? So we have 3 different subscriptions for the premium tier, one for each subscription period, and then on the bottom, as you can see, every base plan for each subscription period has 1 free trial configured. So when I updated for Billing Library 5, as Andy said, the structure is more hierarchical. I would only need to configure 2 products on Play console, which correspond to my subscription tiers, premium and standard. Each one would have 3 different base plans for the different subscription periods, and in turn, each one of those would have an offer configured inside it. This is how it would look like. Again, only for the premium tier, I would have only 1 subscription configured in Play console, and inside I would have the 3 different base plans with different subscription offers. Let's see how this looks in code. We'll go first through the Billing Library 4 example, and then we'll update it to Billing Library 5. Again, don't worry about the code. This is all on GitHub, and you'll be able to check it out later. Hope you can see it correctly. I think it's big enough. So let's look at what we have here. So for Billing Library 4, as we mentioned, you need 1 different product for each combination of subscription tier and subscription period. So we need 6 products in total. So I'm setting up all my 6 product IDs here, and also like my 2 subscription tiers in order to show them on the UI. So first, what I would do is, on the onCreate method, I would instantiate and configure a BillingClient instance, and I will start the connection to it. I'm using Jetpack Compose for the UI of the paywall, so I would just configure my Jetpack Compose view and set up the products and a callback for when the user taps the subscribe button. These are some lifecycle methods for Billing Library. Here, I'm just listening for the setup finished event, where I will then load the products. I'm also listening for when the service gets disconnected, so I try to reconnect. And also just clean up some resources when the activity gets destroyed. The load products method is probably the most important one. So I'll walk through what we're doing here. So we're getting the list of product IDs that we saw earlier, and then we're calling the query SKUDetails async method, which would return an SKUDetails instance, which is the class that encapsulates all information about the product in Billing Library. This would give me the 6 SKUDetails instances, and what I'm doing here is I'm ordering and grouping the products by their subscription tier, right? In order to show them in the UI. Finally, when the user taps to subscribe on a product, I will get this callback, and then I would call the launch billing flow method for that product, which would launch the native UI flow for actually purchasing a subscription. And when a subscription has actually happened and finished the process, I get this callback on purchase updated, in which I need to acknowledge that I have actually listened to this purchase and that I have unlocked the user's entitlements. Finally, we have the paywall item class, which encapsulates the information about a specific product for the UI, and I'm doing here some, getting some helpers for getting the title and the subtitle that I want to show on the screen. Also, have some helpers for getting the user-friendly representation for the number of days or the subscription period that happens, and also a helper to get the number of days so that I can sort the subscriptions by length on the UI. So let's see how this works. We have our 2 subscription tiers with 3 different products each, and I'll go ahead and purchase this one, which should work. Okay, here we go. So because the time to update to Billing Library 5 is starting soon, we have updated it to Billing Library 5, and so we'll go through what the differences are here, right? As we mentioned, for Billing Library 5, you only need 2 products, 1 for each subscription tier. So I'm only defining 2 products here, the Premium and the Standard. The onCreate method is pretty much the same. We're just instantiating a BillingClient and configuring it, and starting the connection, setting up the Jetpack Compose view, setting up all the products inside, and listening for when a purchase actually happens. All the billing library lifecycle methods stay the same: setup finished, service disconnected, and the onDestroy method. Then we have the load products method, which changes a little bit. So all the base plans and all the offers get returned on the same list. So we need to do, like we're doing the same thing. We're just setting the product IDs, and then we call query product details async. But now what we get is an instance of product details. And the thing is that we need to do a lot of grouping and matching and merging in order to be able to group the products by base plan and then by subscription tier. So that's all that we're doing here, and then we're just setting it in the paywall. And now in the subscribe callback, because a product is now a combination of a base plan and an offer, we need to set up, in order to start a purchase, we need to set the product details, but also the offer token. The offer token is a user-specific token for a specific offer, because offers can be, not every user can be eligible for every offer. Maybe there are some users who have already had a free trial or introductory price, so this is a specific token for that user, but then you would just call the launch billing flow again, and it would be pretty much the same. And then you also need to acknowledge the purchase here. Because the hierarchy for subscription in Billing Library 5 gets a little bit more complex, we have a few more helper methods here to get the title and the subtitle that we want to show on the screen, also to be able to retrieve the base plan and the free trial plan here. That's what we're doing here. And then again, the same, the user-friendly representation for the billing period and the number of days so that we can sort the subscriptions. So we'll see how this works, which hopefully, if I've done everything right, should be the same as before, but using Billing Library 5. So let's try to purchase this one. And here we go. And you might have noticed there's a new button here that says, "Are you at DroidCon San Francisco?" So let's see what happens. I guess I am. Okay, it's asking me for my location permission. I kind of trust the developer of this app, so I'm going to go away and give permission here. And it says, "You're at DroidCon San Francisco, you get a special 50% discount." Okay, nice, I like it. Let's do that. Nice. So you might have seen here that I overlooked a small part of the code here that says special offer. I'm using 2 different Billing Library 5 new features for this part of the code, right? I'm using the tags feature, which is a feature where you can add a text tag, attach a text tag to any offer or base plan in the Play console so that you can more easily fetch it. So I have created a special offer just for DroidCon that I have tagged with the special offer tag, so that I can easily retrieve it here. And I've set it up the eligibility for this software as developer eligibility, which means that I am the one who decides who to give it to and who not to give it to. So I'm using the user's location to determine where they are, and if they are in a radius of the conference venue, I'm offering it to them. So as you can see, there's a lot of flexibility here in what Billing Library 5 offers in terms of offers for your customers and how you can be extremely creative here. So back to Andy.
All right, so I'm going to cover some of the challenges that you may run into once you do move into BillingClient 5, which, reminder, there's kind of a deadline if you have a new app, that's August 2023, and if you have an existing app, you need to update before November 2023. So some of the challenges that you may face, the first one you might have picked on already, you might have picked it up by looking at the code. It's much more complex. So this is true both on the app side and on the backend side. And so there's a lot more to manage. And it's great that you have this extra flexibility. It's great that you have better opportunities to monetize your app. But there's a lot more to keep in mind. And testing is certainly not something that Google makes easy. So that's, that's one of the biggest challenges. And particularly if you have a backend, which you might want to have a backend for quite a few reasons. For starters, the device is something that your user possesses, and so they can tamper with it, and they could try and fake purchases. And so if you want to prevent abuse and fraud, then using a backend is the recommended way of doing that. But if you have, and also if you want to keep track of the revenue that you're making, which is probably a good idea. If you want to know how much money you're making, well, typically you use a backend for that. If you want to have any form of login system of your app, if you want to have your own your own user authentication, typically a backend is needed for that. So the backend with BillingClient 5 and its corresponding backend APIs becomes a lot harder. For starters, Google no longer gives you the transaction price, which makes it very difficult to estimate revenue afterwards, because how much money did the user pay, right? So the way we got around this, also the price is sort of unique per user, specifically now that you have, the pricing could be unique for a region, but it can also be that you give them an offer. They could be on an old price, they could be grandfathered in, they could be in a new price, they could be using whatever discount you have. They may have been at AndroidCon, that DroidCon SF, right? And they got the 50% discount. There's a lot that could have happened. The price is unique per user. And since it's not a part of the transaction, well, the way that we got around that is we actually had the app give us all the information for all the possible pricing phases, and we have the backend figure it out from there. There's also more stuff that's missing, like the promotion information. If you're running any promotions, you don't get the code or the type, and that makes it very difficult to understand whether those were effective. The payment states are also ambiguous. For example, for a pending transaction, you don't know whether the transaction is pending because the user needs to go to a physical shop and confirm the purchase with money, or if they're waiting for something else. If they, for example, if you upgrade into a different subscription, but then you change the price only after the current billing period expires, that's also still pending, and you don't know what exactly happened there. And so there's a number more challenges and things that you might run into, and we're going to be at the RemedyCap booth. So if you're currently in the process of doing this and you're running into some of these, or if you just want to know more, we're more than happy to nerd out about BillingClient at any time. And I'm going to leave you with some resources which might be useful when doing this migration. So for starters, the source code for everything that Mark implemented is available on GitHub. You can use that as a reference. And then we have the official migration guide from Google from BillingClient 4 to 5 and 6. There's a single migration guide for that. Then an overview of the Play Billing Library 5. made by us, and another overview of what was announced at Google I/O 2023, what the specific changes are with BillingClient 6, and also recommendations from Google about using a backend to prevent fraud and abuse. So, any questions for us?